It is indeed a great pride and honor to be part and invited again as your resource speaker to our humble and kind principal, Ma'am Susana Sacatrapus, to the faculty of Tagumpay National High School. Good day. Before I start my discussion, I would like to recognize these people. Sir Job Sape Jr., the CLMD Chief of Region 4A, Sir August Zamora, our Education Program Supervisor, LMDS, to Sir Hernani Jaime, Supervising Education Program Specialist in part of the Bureau of Learning Delivery, Ma'am Merly Lopez, the EPS, and the Senior High School Coordinator, and last but the least, my principal, Sir Leandro Di Matosinios. You know what? They are part of my journey not only as a writer, as a validator, and evaluator. Alam nyo, talagang napakaswerte ko at mapala din tayo because sa mga iba't ibang mga pagkakataon, we are being part of those validation. And nakakatuwa at sabi ko nga kay Mitch, masarap din maging isang writer. But of course, if you intended to become a writer, it takes a lot of time, of course, effort, and of course, pressure. But always remember that ginagawa natin ito para sa mga batang Rizalenyo. Secretary Leonor Magtulis Briones said that whatever is happening in the country, whatever challenges we are facing, education must continue. Education cannot wait. Our learners cannot wait. We continue with the process so we can give hope and continuity and contribute to the normalization of the activities in the country. And from that, we come up with this what we call the distance learning delivery modalities, and it was been implemented in this school year 2020-2021. And in our region, we come up with these two. It's MDL and ODL. MDL is modular. We use either printed or digital, and then the other one is online delivery approach. As much as possible, the primary learning resource that shall be used are the self-learning modules developed by the regions for the implementation of the alternative delivery modes or the ADMs. Other learning resources like textbooks, learners' materials, the MELCs aligned teacher-made videos, audio lessons, modules, activity sheets, interactive e-materials may supplement the required learning resource for each learning delivery modality. Alternative delivery modules or self-learning modules are self-contained, self-instructional, self-paced, and interactive learning resources for public schools intended for learning a specific topic or lesson where the learner interacts actively with instructional materials rather than reading the material passively. SLMs have been used by DepEd for its ADMs during disaster or in situations where learners have difficulty for daily school attendance. COVID-19 has compelled the use of SLMs on the large scale. On the other hand, learning resources or the LRs are any text-based, printed or non-print, or non-text-based material. It could be devices, tools, equipment, manipulative toys aligned with the K-12 curriculum and as primary basis or supplements to teaching and learning process. Self-learning modules or the SLMs, which are K-12 compliant, are developed following the ADM learning resources standards. The SLMs are designed to provide ample time for the mastery and sufficient practice to ensure that the targeted most essential learning competencies are achieved. Clearly defined goals are attainable with the specific time frame for taking into consideration the learner's learning capacity based on their grade level. And we are coached, actually, the use of this is what we call the pivot for a idea exemplar, lesson exemplar, and we come up with these four phases. Of course, we have this introduction, for I, we have this D for development, we have E for engagement, and A for assimilation. Before we start the opening of the school year, actually this is based from my personal observations. So we come up with some challenges encountered, and one of it is extreme urgency to provide the minimum SLMs needed for the first quarter of the school year prior to the opening of classes. The other one is lack of SLMs in some learning areas. And lastly is the errors in content and mechanics. Actually, our region provided us some learning areas, but not totally in all subject learning areas. In fact, in senior high school, talagang we are taught to write. At napakadami kasing subject ng senior high school, kaya talagang we are taught by the district and by the division office to write those modules. Take note that the writers of the SLMs follow general specifications in terms of structure and sequence, the content, language, illustrations, technical specifications, style guide, and social content guidelines. While the resources may have undergo a quality assurance process, you may still need to assess the SLMs and LRs in terms of their relevance to your lessons and to your learners. And alam nyo, sa totoo lang, sabi ko nga kanina, napakahirap maging writer kasi napakadaming nating intindihin, not only the content but also the illustrations, the style, and then the specifications of the modules. I want to take note the important functions of the writers. And if you are the content editor, you have to review and verify the accuracy of the contents of the manuscript. And if it is free from social content violations and plagiarized content and illustrations, check the compliance of learning resource or manuscript to the curriculum standards, give comments and recommendations, help the writer in developing content or in revising the parts of that need improvement. Ensure that given comments and suggestions incorporated in the manuscript, and you prepare and submit the manuscript with marginal notes. Okay, this is many functions, napakadaming function ng isang content editor. And if you are a language reviewer, you have to review the manuscript for language errors. Example, faithfulness in translation, coherence and clarity, grammar and syntax, spelling and punctuation, consistency in style, and others. Ensure the compliance of learner's material or manuscript to the required style guides. Give comments and recommendations, and ensure that the given comments and suggestions are incorporated in the manuscript, and to prepare also and submit with marginal notes. And if you are the layout artist, so you lay out the manuscript according to the standards. You submit the editable digital file of the manuscript on the agreed schedule following the standards. And if you are the illustrator, provide illustrations and visual needed in the manuscript according to the standards. Finalize illustrations and visual based on the writers' and reviewers' comments and suggestions. On our case, as a writer, we have already layout artist and illustrator in our division. So, meron na tayo. We have these people na ang gagawin mo na lang, if you have this picture, pwedeng ilagay mo doon kung ano yung i-layout nila or i-illustrate, and then sila nang bahala. Our task now is to conduct walkthrough in our module. This is important because it helps you familiarize with the contents of the material. And also, all SLMs and LRs must be reviewed first by the concerned subject teachers before using the materials. Alam nyo, kailangan muna kasi sabi nga natin kanina, may mga pagkakataon na nagkakaroon din ng error dun sa ating mga modules. So, sabi nga ng ating region, ng Sir Sape, so pag may mga mali talaga, they have to consider it at pwede nating sabihin sa region natin para mapalitan agad. In going over the material, remember the following. Of course, we have to examine, we have to inspect, we have to analyze, we have to scrutinize, we have to study, explore, evaluate, fact check, and then check the content. Kasi dito nagkakaroon kasi ng mga errors in our modules. Okay, going on, we have now the general specifications or the pivot for a learner's material. And we have here the structure and a sequence. First one, the LM is easy to understand. Lesson shall be arranged from simple to complex. Visuals and graphic organizers shall be available to facilitate better understanding of the lesson. Size of the learner, letters, and Sentences shall be appropriate to the target learners. Presentation shall be engaging and interesting. Materials from grade 1 to 3 consider I do, we do, you do procedure with the help of a learning facilitator. Let's proceed now to the treatment of social content. The social content covers the whole facets of Filipino cultures and practices with terms of references of the wide-ranging legal basis and comprehensive guidelines thereof. The themes include the Filipino learners, the Philippine national and the Philippine society, citizenship and social responsibility, individuality and social identity, social institutions, the gender, media technology and communications, health, nutrition, wellness, the environment, and safety and security. Okay, let's proceed now to the first guidelines, the Filipino learners. Okay, we should portray the learner's multifaceted individual with physical, intellectual, psychosocial, emotional, spiritual, and socio-cultural traits. Of course, we have to foster the values formation and to highlight the dignity of learners and communicate respect for the rights, and also to uphold the learner's unique values and principles, and should mirror the diversity of learners' life, their experiences, settings, and context, and to depict learners as having 21st century skills, not only information in media and technology that actively developed. Okay? So, kailangan nandyan pa rin, makita pa rin dito yung pagiging Filipino ng isang learner. There should be, for example, it's about the family, it's about the values of the learner. Okay, next one is the Philippine National and Philippine Society. Of course, to depict national symbols and institutions in context that promote respect for their meanings, foster a sense of justice and obedience, show community settings, highlight the diversity of Philippine cultural communities, including the indigenous cultural communities, and of course, depict expression of Philippine cultures, like for example, the Filipino in terms of our games, our dances, our songs, literature, how we dress, our food, about festival, and our practices and customs, and others. And also, maximize the use of illustrations and photographs depicting the diversity of the Philippine settings and the environments. For example, our local communities, the local objects, the flora and fauna endemic to the Philippines, and refrain from giving importance and attentions to popularized fads. Include foreign products and practices and values only as needed. And include, of course, the foreign products, it should be featured in a ways that we do not prejudice the Philippine products, practices, and values. Next one is the citizenship and social responsibility. It should encourage participative and responsible citizenship, promote in learners positive attitudes towards persons with disability, foster attitudes of inclusivity, acceptance, understanding, and appreciation for diverse cultures, sectors, and group of society. Okay, take a look of this one. If we have here politically incorrect terms, and then the other one is politically correct terms. If we describe a blind person, so it should be a person with difficulty in seeing. Okay, if we describe a deaf person, it should be a person with difficulty in hearing. And if that person is mongoloid, okay, it should be person with Down syndrome. Depict contributions of individuals and ethnic, cultural, and religious groups that promote the common good of the community and the larger society. Avoid the depiction of physical, sexual, verbal, and mental abuse of adults and children, as well as violent sports and entertainment. The next guidelines is about the individuals and social identity. So depict the ethnic, physical, mental, religious, and cultural, socio-cultural diversity of individuals, and encompass all races and ethnicities, religions, economic classes, sexual orientation, and gender identity, including, of course, the lesbian, the gay, bisexual, and transgender. Avoid views or opinions that highlight stereotypes, and encourage cultural, moral, and social insensitivities against particular social classes or gender groups. Avoid sexist language, bias, prejudice, and stereotype. Next one is about social institutions. Of course, the family, it should show respect for different family patterns. It's either nuclear, extended with a single parent or with two parents, etc. So promote responsible parenthood. So in regards to religious or faith groups, use religious references, symbols, celebrations, and language free of biases. So ensure that any reference to a religious groups is appropriate, accurate, and authentic in relation to the setting and the of period of history in which they are presented. In terms of work institutions, present and promote a balanced and just relationship between worker and managers. Show workers of various professions and public servants contribute to the development or growth of their communities or of the country. Commercial entities avoid using commercial brand names and corporate logos. Avoid incorporating any form of commercial solicitation and advertising. Next one is on gender. So refrain from differentiating either explicitly or implicitly the capability of males and females. Avoid stereotyping of males and females roles. Depict gender and sexuality as an aspect of one's personhood in positive ways and maintain equal treatment to gender roles. And also avoid sexist language. Use gender-free and gender-fair language. Okay, take a look at this one. Okay, if we refer to a manly, so it's a bias-free, ano? So we could use the strong or mature. For manpower, so this is biased, and we could use the human resource. And if we refer to a master of ceremonies, so we could use host, MC, or a moderator. Okay, so if we use mastermind, so we could, of course, we could refer to or using the word genius, creator, or instigator. Next one is media, technology, and communication portray ethical media practices. So it should portray ethical media practice, demonstrate the importance of using different forms of media as a means for communication and expression of ideas, highlight technological innovations as products of human ingenuity, depict responsible, safe, and secure use of information and communication technology, and promote positive and healthy attitudes towards ICT and its use. And in regards to health, nutrition, and wellness, it should promote and support personal health habits, fitness activities, and practices that promote physical, mental, social, emotional, and moral spiritual. It should promote proper nutrition and good eating habits, discourage the use of tobacco, alcohol, restricted drugs, or the narcotics, and the other addictive substances. Emphasize health concerns, promote the development and adoption of health programs, encourage application of consumer knowledge and skills in the effective evaluation, selection, and the use of health information, products, and services. I remember this one. We've been to Cebu, and ang ginawa namin dito is a lesson guide about rabies, It's about rabies integration to the lessons, ano? At nakakatuwa kasi I've been given a chance to become a demonstration teacher dun sa ginawa naming module or the session guide. And in regards to the environments, it should portray lifestyles that contribute towards reducing the impact of climate change through proper segregation and waste management, portray efforts to conserve and care for the country's natural resources, advocate the sustainability of aquatic life resources, promote lifestyles practices that advocate proper land resource management, portray efforts that regulate, restrict, or prohibit the importation, manufacture, processing, sale, distribution, use, and disposal of chemical substances and mixtures that present unreasonable risk or injury to the health of the environment. Okay, let's proceed now to the style, guide, and specifications for learning resources development. This time, so I'll be discussing now the specifications, and if you really want to become a writer, these are now the guidelines or the specifications. Okay, the first one is the document page setup. Okay, so the paper size. Okay, so it should be custom, or it should be an A4. So the margin here now, okay, set the margin. So the top is 1 inch, then the bottom, the inside, and then the outside. And if you used A4, okay, same as with the custom. And if you have this gutter, is equal to the spine width. So number of pages times this one. Okay, so let's proceed to the design standards and requirements. So in regards to the recommended font, okay, K to grade 1 until grade 3, so you should use the Century Gothic. Grade 4 to, and also the teacher's guide, it should be Arial or Times New Roman. So we have here also the font size. Okay, hindi ko na iisa-isahin. And then the art text ratio. Okay, but if you really want to write a module or any manuscript, you could text me para maibigay ko itong mismong specification. In the learning area color codes, of course, andito na, no? This is now the learning area, the background or the color for cover. So, para ma-identify agad natin, for example, in English, ano ba yung dapat na kulay? It should be a light blue or a cyan. Kapag naman Filipino, dapat dark blue. Kapag naman science ang subject, it should be orange. Kapag mathematics, it should be green. Araling palipunan, it should be red. Edukasyong pagpapakatao, it should be brown. Music and arts, it should be canary yellow. And then physical education and health, it should be light yellow. And mother tongue based multilingual education, they use white. And sa TLE EPP, violet. Okay? Okay, so we have here tips for effective book covers. So the title should be big and easy to read. So consistent in size and typeface. Do not use cheap clip art on your cover. Don't plagiarize, create your own. Do not use any of the following fonts like Comic Sans or Papyrus. No font explosions and special styling. So avoid gradient, gents, or ito yung maraming kulay na ginagawa natin minsan na may mimili tayo ng talagang kulay. Okay? Okay, so how about the artwork and graphics? It should be freehand or digital artwork. Resolution and size, so 300 dpi or ppi, the resolution. So it pwede ring 200 or illustration size or the actual size. Okay, the format, it could be JPEG or the photos, JPEG or PNG, the illustration, and PNG for logos and icons. And for the mode, okay, we could use the CMYK, yung colors, the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And in regards to artwork style guide, so illustrations, icons, and diagrams must maintain definition when printed in black and white or color. Total black is the cyan 75, the magenta 68, yellow is 67, then the K is 90. For dialogue boxes, use call outs without quotation marks. Font family, use Century Gothic or Arial. Experiment with different variations. It could be bold, italic, and others. So, tignan nyo yung picture, Ito yon, maligayang pagdating. So, ito yung example niya. Okay, take a look at this picture, So, artwork style guide. So, the photo is from Angono Pilot School for the Arts. So the photographer must be identified as required by source and reference. So persons included must have provided free and prior consent to the intended use and the context. So don't plagiarize. So before using this picture, kailangan makredit natin lagi dito yung Angono o Pilot School of the Arts kasi siya yung picture na pinagkunan. Okay? Huwag kakalimutan dahil of course kailangan dahil meron tayong copyright law. Okay? So meron tayong copyright law na kailangan nating intindihin at hindi pa pwedeng magkuha tayo ng mga pictures ng basta gusto lang natin. And also sa mga computers. So lahat 'yan dapat it should be please refer to the source, ano? Kailangan maipapakita natin lagi yung mga sources natin, either it's picture or mga quotes from famous writers natin, ano? Okay, take a look at this one, the artwork style guide of the logo of the DepEd. So, the other side we have here approved logos. Okay, so maintain original proportion. Don't apply effects, filter, drop, shadow, bevel, and emboss, etc. This one. So logos with effects, ano? So hindi dapat, ano? Kailangan we will use the approved logos lang. Okay? So from now, so I'll be presenting different pictures, ano, and titignan natin yung errors in the illustrations. Take a look at these three pictures. Okay, picture number 1, picture number 2, and picture number 3. In the picture number 1, so kung titignan natin, it's masyadong blurred yung mga ano at hindi masyadong kita. So hindi pa pwedeng ganito. Okay, yung mga signs dito, ano, in places hindi makita. So it's X. Okay, the second picture, okay, so tignan nyo yung mga gamit ng mga lines natin, mga lining natin sa pictures. Minsan may makapal dito and then dito naman ay manipis. Okay, so kailangan if you draw, kailangan pare-pareho yung mga lines. And then the third picture, so titignan natin, yun naman about the color. So masyado ditong dark and the other one ay light. So dapat if light ang color nito, dapat pare-parehong light ang kulay niya. So lahat nito are errors in illustrations. Okay, so we have also 4, 5, 6 pictures. The first picture same as, so hindi readable, ano, yung mga pictures dito, yung pag-uusap ng dalawa. Okay, so masyadong bold, masyadong manipis yung iba, so not readable. The other one, we have here pictures. Okay, so it's pixelated. Yung iba dito, yung iba stretch, and then overexposed naman dito, and then the other one is underexposed. And then picture number 6, so ito yung tama, no? Kasi nakikita pa yung mga mukha. Pero dito naman yung X natin dito masyadong maliit. So tingnan din natin yung size ng picture kung makikita pa ba sila or not. Okay, so how about the book cover errors? Okay, so let's identify the errors of these pictures. Okay, picture number 1. So take a look at this one. So overloaded information. Okay. The next picture, the watermarks that are too visible. So tignan niyo yung kaniyang watermarks, masyadong visible, mas nakita pa dun sa talagang picture natin, ano, about mother tongue. And then the next picture, too many details, ano, attempt to show all the ideas in the learning resource. So napakadami ditong mga ideas. So all of these pictures are book cover errors. Okay, how about redevelopment? Okay, examples. So we have here, if you developed a storybook, so dapat ito siya, it could be black and white, of course. But if you print and online, so you will use A3 or A4 or MS Word, InDesign, or PDF. Okay, so may color na siya. And if you have this as presentation in your PowerPoint, so dapat ganito na siya. Mayroon na siyang mga pinag-uusapan dito, no? Okay, so ito yung example ng redevelopment in regards to the illustrations in our modules. Okay, so take a look at this next example. So the layout and design issue in regards to illustration. So this is the original file. And then on the other side, we have now the recommendation, di ba? So nagumawa ng bilog and then hindi dire-diretso dito. So hindi maganda siya, no? At hindi talaga siya maganda sa mata. Okay, and then the other side, ito na 'yon, maganda na siya, no? At talagang kahit papaano naayos na siya. Okay, so next one is this one, ano, the layout and design issue. Okay, yung scan file. So tingnan niyo dito yung pagkakaiba. Okay, ito yung original file kasing scanned ito, scanned. And then the other one dito yung kabila. Pero alam nyo, mayroon naman na ngayon apps na kahit picturean mo naman yung mga libro, pwede na i-convert into a Microsoft Word, PDF, or picturean mo sa cellphone, pwede na maging isang file, maging isang Microsoft Word file. Okay, so how about the content error? So tingnan nyo example dito, Ipinapakita ng food chain kung papaano na isasalin o naililipat ang enerhiya buhat sa isang organismo patungo sa isa pang organismo. So so talagang nakakalito nga naman pag ito ipapakita natin, So napicturean dito, Hindi nga malinaw kung ano ba ito, kinakain ba, isda ba ito, nakabaliktad, Pero pwede na nating tanggalin. This is now the recommendation. And if you have technical issue on online publication, so module per topic, so dapat ito yung recommendation na the format is PDF, file size 5 MB and below, number of pages 66 and below, paper size it should be A4. Ito na yung sinasabi ko sa inyo kanina if you want to write a module. Okay, I have here samples for cover page. So ito yung cover page ng aking module. So ginawa ko kasi ito ng Philippine Politics and Governance. And then the other one is an example of TLE for quarter 1. So take a look of the logos used. So tingnan nyo, dahil nga ako ay division logo lang ilalagay ko dito. But if you are a writer for region, so pwede mo nang ilagay ito yung SLMD or this kompleto na yung kaniyang logo. GOS. Okay, so before I end this topic, I have here now the list of references. Huwag natin kakalimutan kasi ito yung pinagkunan natin and I'm really grateful kasi nga marami tayong mga nakunan dito na mga PowerPoint not only from our division but also in central and regional level. So yun yung pinagkunan ko ng aking mga slides. Okay, so before I end this topic, I want to congratulate all of you, at talaga ng mga, and of course myself, kasi pinagbigyan niyo ulit ako to become your resources speaker, na tutuwa ako at kahit papaano, nabigyan ko kayo ng konting kaalaman, okay, knowledge about yung aking pagiging writer, at sabi ko nga, hindi lang writer, validator and evaluator also of modules. Nakakatuwa kasi talaga namang ang division office natin ay talagang tinatop ang mga master teachers to become part of this writing. Okay? Pero bago kami isalang of course into writing, kailangan muna ng workshop and that workshop, ito ngayon yung diniscuss ko sa inyo and if you intended to become a writer also, ito rin yung mga makikita ninyo na i-discuss rin ng it's either division or ng ating region. Okay, again, thank you very much, Ma'am Susan, Ma'am Mitch, okay, sa aking mga Thunders friends dyan sa Tagumpay National High School. Alam ko, kilala nyo sarili ninyo. Maraming salamat at andito ulit ako at pinagbigyan nyo. And I do hope one of these days maging kasama ko kayo sa writing workshops at mapunta tayo sa ibang lugar para maging part of different right shops. Salamat at mabuhay kayo at God bless. Salamat po sa inyo.